to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this hypnosis session, you're going to be listening to hypnosis all about changing the relationship with alcohol. So it moves from something that feels like it's useful or necessary to something that just is not necessary at all. And I was working with a client that had recently used hypnosis to get clarity on whether or not they wanted to be in a relationship or not, and they had ended that relationship. And therefore, it made sense to treat this part of their life as a new chapter and what kind of person they wanted to be in this new chapter. And also to take the thread of relationships and to think of if a relationship with alcohol was almost like a human relationship, what kind of relationship would it be? And is it the kind of relationship that they would still want to have? So there's a lot going on in this hypnosis session, but at its core, it is evolving an identity to someone that feels like they need alcohol, or a lot of people have a belief or a story that in order to have fun, they need alcohol. In order to socialize, they need alcohol. And a lot of these beliefs aren't true, but they can really feel like they're true. And that's where the compulsions and the habits are built around. But there is a very useful way of thinking about alcohol, and that is that it dulls your senses and really distorts and creates noise for your intuition. And this particular client really valued their intuitive abilities, their ability to read people, to read their energy, and therefore framing alcohol as something that distorts their intuitive abilities and also their intuition with themselves actually made alcohol even less appealing. Now, your reasons may be different. Your reasons might be that you're just feeling like you're drinking too much. It's not good for your health, or maybe you've gained weight because of too much drink. If you want to change your relationship with alcohol, this session may be useful because it's really about figuring out who don't you want to be anymore, and what would your life be like if you either had no alcohol or low alcohol or alcohol on your terms. Now, this particular client didn't want it to be no forever. It was no for now. And I think that's a really smart move if you're making the transition from drinking to not drinking. And I've shared this on previous episodes. I've been about 7 years without touching alcohol. And some people will ask me, will I ever drink again? And I say, I'm not sure. I don't think I will, and I don't plan to, because I now have 7 years of evidence that I really don't need it. And that's helpful. But when I started, it was really built around the framework of I won't drink for now. And that just continued. And some people, when they create this idea that they're going to give up something forever, actually paradoxically has the opposite effect. Suddenly they start feeling a fear of loss and they start craving it. So if you want to have a different relationship with alcohol, I would encourage you to consider going without alcohol for a few months, maybe a year, and evaluate a new relationship with your life where alcohol is not a requirement in order for you to enjoy social occasions or enjoy the weekend or whatever it might be. And there are lots of health benefits. There's recently been a study where one of the myths that said that red wine, for example, is good for your heart or alcohol is good for relaxation and dealing with stress have proved to be myths. I'll do a separate recording about the 6 myths of alcohol very soon. But for now, just know that it's highly likely that if you have beliefs and stories that require you to have alcohol, it's probably built on myths and misconceptions. Now, you might get some value from this. Please be aware it was created for an individual. So if you like the idea of working with me, there will be a link to lots of different resources, free courses, free downloads, a suitability test, and even a way to schedule a free consultation call with me. Check out those links in the description. But for now, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be distracted or disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that slow, calm feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, give permission to release any emotions that have been rising to the surface recently. Any grief, any regrets, any sadness or stress or tension. Notice what comes up and allow it to be released. And as you breathe in, choose to breathe in a feeling of resourceful clarity. Almost like if you've tasted something with a strong taste. Drinking water can clean the palate. So as you breathe in that resourceful clarity, imagine it wiping the slate clean, giving you a clear read, allowing any heavy emotions to be released, and enabling you to pick up on subtle emotions, feelings, or intuitive thoughts. As you start to get a feeling that your ideal baseline is that of clarity. Some people believe that emotions are signposts, that no emotion is good or bad. They're all useful if you can interpret the emotions in the right way. Frustration can be an opportunity for a change. Anger for a new boundary. I want you to get a sense that anything that interferes with that clarity means that it deprives you of interpreting the emotional signposts and navigating your life in the way that serves you most. And I want you to get a feeling that some things can enhance that intuitive connection, and other things can distort it. I want you to get a sense that if you had a can of paint that was pure white, all it would take is one tiny drop of a strong color, like purple or blue or red, and it would distort all of that white paint. I want you to get a feeling that clarity is like that white paint. And to some extent, alcohol is adding new colors to the paint. And sometimes those colors are fun and vibrant, but they distort that baseline reading. In the past, that's been fine, but every now and then, it's good. It's good to end a relationship that no longer serves you and replace it with something that aligns with who you are now, not who you have been. And as you breathe in that pure, resourceful clarity, and continue to exhale those colors of distortion, get a sense that the deeper you breathe, the more clarity you connect with, and the more relaxed you feel. And the more relaxed you feel, the deeper you breathe. Each breath taking you deeper and deeper relaxed. As your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I wonder if you could imagine what it would be like to be in the desert, surrounded by dunes. I want you to imagine it's at night. No one else around. But because of the light from the stars and perhaps the moon, you can see the shapes of those rolling dunes. And the absence of sound gives you clarity as to everything that's around. When there is silence, you can hear something quiet. When it's noisy, that same sound is hidden. And I want you to think of alcohol as being like noise. How can you hear what you need to hear if noise can hide what has always been there? I want you to imagine right now is the edge of a chapter that has just ended. And not with regret and not with loss, but with understanding. That relationship served a purpose. You have wisdom and lessons, and you know more about who you were. And also, who you are no longer required to be. And notice how different this feels when the ending is refinement, evolution, not a loss, just a change, a conscious decision to step forward rather than drift sideways. No failure, no regrets, just discernment, empowered discernment. And somewhere inside, a part of you already knows that this ending opens doors, new possibilities, space for new experiences. Not an ending, but a beginning. And as you connect with that empowered feeling at the end of that relationship, allow another relationship to come into your awareness. The relationship you used to have with alcohol. And instead of thinking of it as a drink or a substance, think of it as a person you once knew. If they had a personality, what was their personality? What was the dynamic? How frequent were they in your life? Sometimes there, sometimes not. Sometimes there for celebrations, and sometimes there to relax. But notice how this relationship was never essential, never a dependency, just a nice to have. And now, there in the dunes thinking about that relationship, you can observe that relationship honestly. Sometimes people have the illusion of clarity when drinking. But that alcohol never gave you clarity. It gave you an illusion of clarity. And it never gave you energy. It took future energy. And that created an energy deficit. It never expanded you. If anything, it narrowed your perception, distorted your intuition, hampered your connection to yourself. And just as with your recent relationship, you can acknowledge this without judgment, because your relationship with alcohol also served a chapter. But what if now that chapter is complete? I want you to imagine inviting that relationship with alcohol as if it was a person there with you on the dunes. Imagine talking with that part. Let it know the truth based on how you feel now. Maybe it feels like a breakup conversation. You respect that role that it had in your past. Maybe gave you good times. But for now, it's not necessary, no longer needed. And notice the power in your words as you communicate that to the representation of alcohol. This isn't off limits, it's not forbidden, because you know that you can drink, and yet you choose not to. It's not from restriction, but from alignment. Because your refinement, evolution, knows that clarity feels better than dullness, and energy feels better than recovery, and intuition feels better than noise. And that's the most important, a clear reading of your intuition. And I want you to introduce a new relationship. Welcome the version of you that doesn't need alcohol and doesn't want it. Say goodbye to that previous relationship and see the version of you from your future that has been thriving without it. See the identity of someone who can live fully, feel deeply, celebrate freely, and connect authentically without needing anything external to access those states. See the facial expression of pride on that version of you. Not performative, not preachy, just solid. That version of you is someone that others notice, is clear, grounded, and present. Like you're a role model without trying to be. A positive influence simply by example. Someone aligned with health, longevity, values, and intuition. And each and every time you choose not to drink, what if it reinforces a deeper message to yourself? That you trust your intuition. You value health and vitality. Someone not willing to trade clarity for comfort. And I want you to go on a journey with that version of you and see your future. See that future version of you living this version of you fully. See you in the very situations you would have normally been drinking and are choosing not to. Observe how conversations feel richer, how attraction feels more aligned, how intuition becomes easier to read, and more importantly, easier to trust. And I want you to imagine observing yourself on future dates and interactions. See that version of you, perfectly comfortable without alcohol, able to evaluate, connect, read chemistry or the lack of it. And I want you to see how this enhances your ability to find the relationship that is synergistic, not just complementary. They enhance you and you enhance them. And that's easier to find when your intuition has a clear read. See how that relationship could evolve, and you don't see their face, just their qualities. And notice how that relationship feels different, because it's chosen by the new you, not the old patterns of the old you. And I want you to see how every area of your life is enhanced. Friendships, relationships, creativity, ideas, health and fitness, adventure, spirituality, connection, all enhanced when alcohol is not needed, not wanted, is there, but you're choosing not to drink it. And as that understanding settles in, you don't need to force anything. No rule, no pressure. Just a desire to prioritize clarity, to really lean in to the value system that already exists within you. But your new chapter is all about alignment, clarity, and becoming more of your true self, not less. And then return back to the dunes with that future version of you, and then feel like you're merging into one. Know what it would feel like to be without alcohol for at least a year, always from an empowered choice, knowing that whatever happens after that, you can be absolutely clear that you do not need it. That's it. And as you connect with that feeling, get a sense that you're looking forward to this new chapter. An empowered, discerning, intuitive chapter. And allow your body to float back all the way to the present as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.